At the end of the day, I think just a reset is really all that's needed. I think sometimes it's underestimated just how significant bye weeks are for a football team. We talked a lot last week, and we've talked a lot about the last couple of weeks, just the brutal middle part of our schedule and the travel and late game at Colorado, followed by late game at West Virginia, followed by night game at home against your rival with a 15-game winning streak on the line, followed by a road trip to rainy Houston, a scrappy Houston football team. And that's a rough stretch of travel, and it ultimately caught up with us.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Hello and welcome to another 3-Mile Pod. I am your host, Cole Manbeck, joined as always each week by Curry Sexton, former Kansas State wide receiver and partner over at Wildcat NIL. We're recording this on Tuesday because, frankly, we wanted to put this off, or at least I wanted to put this off and, delay the inevitable of talking about the Kansas State loss at Houston, 24-19 on Saturday, and what was one of the more frustrating Chris Klieman losses during his time at Kansas State. And I can tell everybody that I had to consume plenty of Ben Holiday bottled in Von Bourbon to get through Saturday night and through that game, as it was one of the more frustrating ones. So go get stocked up with our friends over at Holiday Distillery, great K-State folks who support us on the pod, support Wildcat NIL as well, and will hopefully be at one of the remaining Wildcat NIL tailgates. So go get signed up over at catsnil.com for one of the membership tier programs so you can come hang out with all of us over at the Wildcat NIL tailgate. As a member, you can bring 2 guests, and there's going to be plenty of food and beverages and drinks for the remaining 2 home games, starting with Arizona State on November 16th. Another night game, so plenty of time to get juiced up and have some fun over at the tailgate. Should have some gorgeous fall weather looking ahead at the extended forecast. So go to catsnil.com, support the businesses that are supporting Wildcat NIL. Go check out all of them over at catsnil.com, and go support Holiday Distillery and pick up some Ben Holiday bottled and Von Bourbon. All right, Curry, didn't really want to have to talk about this. Probably better that we're talking about it on Tuesday. Let a little cooler heads prevail, at least on my end from Saturday. But I guess we'll just start here. What was your reaction to what you witnessed on Saturday at Houston?
Probably just depressed. Was probably my most overwhelming feeling. Of course, I think there was a lot of conversation during the week about that being a trap game for obvious reasons. And that's an opponent that's tough and improving and has, one of the best pound for pound football coaches in America, a coach that we lost to before. And so there was a lot of things to be concerned about, but I thought that just talent alone and being right there on the verge of a bye week was going to allow us to muster up, dig deep, muster up, the whatever it took to get a win. And we were close, but really, really disappointing second half performance. Just one of the, quite frankly, one of the more disappointing K-State football games that I've ever watched. And that, I don't think that's hyperbolic at this point. The BYU game was obviously frustrating, but that game was incredibly fluky in a lot of ways. This game was just incredibly disappointing in the fact that we had a 9-point lead in the second half, and our defense was controlling the football game, and somehow we managed to fumble that game away. So incredibly disappointed. I know the coaches and the players are as well, but at the end of the day, we've still got a lot left in front of us. There's still a great opportunity for us to make it to Arlington in that first week of December. But we're going to have to play a lot better football these last 3 games than what we've played over the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, so let's get into maybe the moment where this thing turned. And, as a reminder, folks, we're going to do the all-22 film footage again and go through that with Curry as we pick 7 plays to go through. I know it's very popular. Many of you like to see that. So we'll go through that here in 10, 15 minutes or so. So be on the lookout for that. Stay tuned as we run through it. And a couple of these plays that we talk about, we will hit on here in the right now. And we'll have that in the all-22 feature as well. So, Curry, the thing that really just sticks with me and has been bothering me since Saturday was the decision up 19-10 to throw the football with under 12 minutes left in the game inside your own 15-yard line when Houston, on its prior 4 drives in the entirety of the second half, had 25 yards of offense on 16 plays. They were averaging well below 1.5 yards per play, which is an awful number for an offense. They hadn't shown the ability to move the football outside of a couple of explosive plays early on in the game. In fact, over their prior 5 drives, you could stretch it back. It was 48 yards on 20 plays. They hadn't scored since the second quarter. Your defense is controlling the game. Houston is one of the worst offenses in the country among Power 4 teams. They are the worst offense statistically in many categories in the Big 12, and they're the worst passing attack in the Big 12, playing in awful weather conditions, down 2 scores. And Kansas State chose to run an RPO. It's clear that it's an RPO from the way the linemen are going downfield. In fact, K-State had multiple linemen that would have been flagged if the officials saw it on that play. And the ball gets picked off, setting Houston up inside the 10-yard line, and where they eventually score on 3rd and goal at the 1 to pull within 2. It felt to me like Houston was not going to score a touchdown, or they couldn't win that game unless you gave them something like that, to where you gave them a short field. The decision to throw the football, what did you make of it there? I know that he was open. Like, we'll see, like, on the All-22, like, there's a window there. But the decision to throw it in those conditions, with everything I just outlined, with the scenario that you were in, like, what did you make of that?
Yeah. I mean, to put it mildly, I wasn't a fan. And that was, that's not in retrospect. I felt that way at the time. And I guess let me back up. I think the first play that really disappointed me, and that I think put us in a really tough spot there, was the punt. Houston is punting on that drive from, I believe, their own 30-yard line ish, and they get off a 65-yard punt because we didn't field the punt. And now obviously it's a rainy day. It was a heck of a punt. And maybe Dylan was instructed not to field punts because they didn't want to risk a fumble or a muff. But there were multiple instances in that game where we did not field punts, and it cost us a lot of field position. And there, you're getting an opportunity. If they're punting from their own 31-yard line, you're getting an opportunity to gain some pretty good field position. And by letting that ball bounce and get down at our 10-yard line, we just from the jump, by not fielding that punt, we put our offense in a tough spot of digging deep, coming out of our own end zone when it's pouring rain and we're struggling to move the football. And so was not a fan of our decisions to not catch the football all day. I have no idea whose decision that was, but we've got to be, and that's been a problem all year. We have to be better about fielding punts. That has cost us a lot of field position all year long. And it's cost us a lot of opportunity for in the return game. And so that was as frustrating to me as anything. And then I think the decision to throw, I understand the thought process there. We're struggling to move the football. It's are struggling to run the football, I should say. We've got that 9-point lead. You're not wanting to get too conservative. We've seen at times this year where we get really conservative with our play calling with a lead, and it costs us. And so I to some degree, I appreciate the choice to say, okay, we're going to try to get aggressive here, and we're going to try to put this football game away. But I think that is all overcome by or outweighed by the fact that regardless of our ability to run the football, move the football, our defense was giving up absolutely nothing for, like you said, 5 drives prior and the first 4 drives for Houston to start the second half. And so at that point in time, I think there has to be an understanding that our defense is controlling this football game. We've got a 9-point lead. Run the football, throw a little bootleg, short passes in the flat if you need to. Be aggressive on the ground, but don't put the ball in the air unless you have to, and let your defense win you the football game. I think if we just let our defense win that football game, we walk out of there, we win by probably 9 points. We win the game, and we're not even really discussing this. And so I think, again, I understand and appreciate to a degree the decision to throw in that point, because if we didn't and we punted, there would have been people complaining about being too conservative. But I think in that case, given the circumstances and the weather, you willingly punt the ball back to Houston and say, okay, defense, get us out of here. Get us a win.
Yep. I can't argue with any of that. Special teams has been a problem. Field position has been a problem for Kansas State. I say special teams has been a problem. Chris Tennant in the field goal kicking unit has been outstanding, at least when it comes to getting the hold down. Obviously, there were some blunders in the conditions on Saturday where K-State wasn't able to execute on an extra point and on a long field goal attempt, 53-yarder as well. So issues there, but completely understand your point. I mean, K-State, Houston was punting from their own 25-yard line in bad weather conditions, and I know they had the wind at their back, but that ball rolls to the K-State 10. Like, that's, you expect K-State in that situation to have the ball probably 25, 30-yard line, and at worst you're punt. I thought, right,
when the ball was in the air, I thought, because it was a good punt, I thought, oh man, here we're going to get a shot at a return. And for the second or third time in the game, we instead see the ball hit the turf and see it bounce favorably for Houston. And so, yeah, our special teams, we've had some big moments. Like you said, Chris Tennant has been excellent. For the most part, Simon McClanahan has been excellent kicking off. But beyond that, we've special teams have not been a strong point for us this year. I think they really did hurt us on Saturday with the decisions not to catch the punts multiple times, getting pinned deep on a couple kickoff returns, the two, the botched snap holds on the field goal unit. There was a lot left on the table by special teams on Saturday.
Yeah, and K-State has punts, two different punts with a net of 28 and 27 yards as well. It's not going to get it done. Special teams has to be better, and we've talked about it before. K-State right now, in terms of offensive starting field position, is, I think, around 125th in the nation when it comes to that. It's been a problem all season, and that's not even counting. I mean, they have been set up in good field position by a few turnovers in the last few games, but special teams is not setting K-State up in the field position that you would have hoped when the move was made this offseason to add Nate Katzer and then Dylan Edwards coming in with the return game. I think we probably expected some more explosives there in the jump. And unfortunately, it has not come to fruition. Hopefully they get it corrected here in the bye week and get things figured out. We're going to keep going on this and dive more into the game and get into the All-22. But first, got to tell you, as always, about our friends over at Home Field Apparel. Over 50 items, K-State items on their website, over 100 different colleges to choose from. But why check out the other colleges when you could check out all the amazing K-State gear they have over on their website, including the new campus pullover throwback jacket that we saw Jerome Tang rocking at the Kansas game a couple of weeks ago. Really sleek, retro-looking jacket that you'll probably want to get your hands on. I know I'm going to be trying to get my hands on it as well. I'm going to place an order for that campus pullover jacket. So go check it out. Go check out all their different hoodies and hats that they have on their website. Fall weather is here, so you can go get stocked up with some of their warmer weather gear. With all the retro logos and sleek designs that you have. Go get some Home Field Apparel gear over at homefieldapparel.com. Discount code 3MAW24, as always, scores you 15% off on your entire order at final checkout. Again, that's 3MAW24 on final checkout. Get 15% off your entire order.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your number one source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
Okay, I mean, part of the reason they were in the situation where they did choose to pass the ball, and we heard Chris Kleiman say this in the post-game after the game and defending the decision to throw the ball and end up with that interception, is K-State could not run the ball. And we're going to make this our top storyline of the week, brought to you, as always, by our friends over at Elanco, premier home improvement company based out of Kansas City, owned and operated by tremendous K-Staters. And Curry, K-State just, frankly, has not run the ball all that well since the second half of the Colorado game. I mean, West Virginia, they were held in check. Colorado in that second half, they were held in check. Now, Avery Johnson couldn't run the ball in either the West Virginia game or the second half against Colorado due to being dinged up, so made the decision there to not do that. KU, they go over 200 yards, but even then, it was a few explosives, but the consistent run game, churning out yards, didn't really feel like it was necessarily there, especially up the middle. And then against Houston, and look, credit to Houston, like it's sloppy conditions. I know K-State's going to try and run the ball, but 34 carries for 89 yards on the ground, 2.6 yards per carry. This is a team that started the year with 6 straight games over 200 yards on the ground and was number 3 in the country in yards per carry. And over the last few weeks, they have not been effective in running the ball. Like, have you seen something that K-State's opponents are doing to them up front to get the offensive line confused with their scheme and what they've adjusted? Are they stunning more on K-State's offensive line? Like, what have you picked up on that maybe is attributed to some of the running game struggles for K-State?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is it seems as though we're whereas earlier on in the season, we were doing a good job of staying on blocks, working up to the second level and getting on defenders on the second level, creating good running lanes. It seems like we're just not doing that anymore. I think defenses have really put a lot of emphasis on stopping the run, and rightfully so. But we haven't adjusted accordingly. And I think, obviously DJ Giddens has been the focus of every defense for the past 3 or 4 weeks, and that's to be expected. I don't know that we've done a good enough job of countering that. Obviously, Avery Johnson was banged up at the back half of the Colorado game and into the West Virginia week as well. But one thing that we're not seeing a lot of is design QB run. Avery had 8 rushes on Saturday, and several of those were him just fleeing the pocket. I think he, I don't know the exact number, but I'm guessing his design runs were somewhere in the 4 to 5 range, which for me, where your star running back is struggling to gain traction, to find running lanes, you have to use the QB run game in that situation. And under those circumstances where it's a rainy day, we're not throwing the football overly well as far as completion percentage goes. Use the wild card. Use the thing that defenses really struggle to stop in most cases, and that's quarterback run. And so, really would like to see us use the QB run more when we've seen it. We've seen it be effective. I think that would open things up significantly for the rest of the offense. And so, have been really disappointed in the fact that that's not something that we're focusing on when we're struggling to run the football or otherwise move the football.
I think that's also attributing to a lot of the offensive struggles, Curry, because I was going through since the Colorado game in the second half, so 14 quarters of football, and I charted every single K-State third down and the yardage that they needed on those third downs attempts. They had 48 third down attempts since the second half of the Colorado game. 32 of those 48, 67%, they needed 6 yards or more on third down. So they're in a situation where it's probably pretty obvious pass situation. If you want to go beyond 6 yards, you could push it to 3rd and 8 or longer. 22 of the 48 attempts are 3rd and 8 or longer. That's 46%. And they've even had 11 of those 48 where they needed 10 yards or more. Like, there's multiple times when they're in a 3rd and 15, 3rd and 17. And that's hard for this offense to overcome. Like, they are not being productive enough in the ground game on 1st and 2nd down to get into those 3rd and manageable type situations. And that feels like that's had an impact. And when you look at, the K-State offense over the last 2 games against KU and against Houston, against KU, the offense has 27 points offensively generated by the offense on 12 drives, and against Houston, 19 points on 13 drives. That's 46 points on 25 drives. It's under 2 points a drive. That's a really bad number. And in the second half, since the beginning, the second half and the first drive against KU, they went right down the field on 4 plays and scored a touchdown. Since then, 14 consecutive drives in the second half without a touchdown, where they've only generated 9 points over their last 14 second half drives. Just not getting it done offensively in the back half of games. And
yeah, I think a deep dive would speak to this. But like you said, we're not a good football team if we're not playing ahead of the sticks. And that was the case on Saturday when we were getting ahead of the sticks and getting positive yardage on 1st and 2nd down and putting ourselves in 3rd and shorts or avoiding 3rd downs completely. That's when we were having our most success. And I think generally, this is my perception. I've not done the deep dive, but generally it feels like anytime we have 3rd and long, it just feels like automatic punt. And I think on Saturday we were combined 5 of 17 on 3rd and 4th down, which just quite frankly isn't going to cut it. And so we have to do a better job of finding ways to get ahead of the sticks and put ourselves in favorable yardage situations, because we're not a team that's built to have success on 3rd and 4th and long.
Yeah. And forgot to mention just a follow-up here on our friends over at Elanco. Go over to elancohome.com. Go check out all the home improvement services that they offer. Again, they're based out of Kansas City. They've been here since 1986. They're locally owned. They have not sold out to private equity like so many of the others in that industry, and owned and operated by tremendous K-Staters. Again, that's elancohome.com, ALENCO home.com. Specialize in premium window replacement services, bathroom remodels, including the Kohler Luxtone shower system, siding, doors. They've got you covered. Go to elancohome.com, ALENCO home.com, and check out all the great services they offer. Well, Curry, I think we'll just go ahead and dive into the All-22, because we can dissect some of that and talk about situational opportunities in this game where maybe the K-State had an opportunity to take more control. So, Nick, why don't we just dive in here with play number 1? All right, we are starting off. This is 1st and goal on the very first drive of the game, Curry, and K-State's got an opportunity here to get a touchdown. They're in a diamond formation in the backfield. You'll see here Avery Johnson gets to the edge. I thought he was going to score, and K-State's got Garrett Oakley on the edge and DJ Giddens there to make a block on one defender, and if they do, it's a touchdown. Now, this is kind of a hard block for Oakley as he loses contain there, but DJ Giddens is coming around, and he's got to get a body on that defender, and that's 6 points for K-State. But I'll let you break this down as well and what you see here.
So I think, first and foremost, I like the formation here, and we saw this a few times on Saturday. It's a little bit of like a shotgun or inverted wishbone formation, and I think, we've talked a lot about so far this season our collective desire to see more of Dylan Edwards, and I think we saw more of him on Saturday, and we saw more of him and DJ together in the backfield at the same time, and I think this is a good example of what that can do for you. And here's another example of design QB run. One of the few times we did it on Saturday, and this play should have gone for a 10 or 11 yard touchdown. And so you've got, again, I think here you're in, here you're in, it looks like 11 or 12 personnel. I can't exactly tell on the fly here. But you've got that inverted wishbone look. This is just simply a QB, this is a zone read, QB power read. And great job by Jace Brown coming down and cracking on that outside defender and getting just enough of him to take him out of the play. And then you're right. I mean, this comes down to the fact we've got 2 guys, Garrett Oakley and DJ Giddens, out on the edge to block one, and neither of them do it. This play gets stopped, and then we ultimately have to kick a field goal. And so this is a significant play in this football game. If we otherwise come right out and score a touchdown, that tends to change the complexion of football games. And so this is a great play design. It's great execution all the way around. We just missed 2 blocks on the outside, and that ultimately cost us a touchdown on this play and on this drive.
It's just like the BYU game, Curry. I mean, you're controlling the first drive, going right down the field, and you had opportunity to get it in, and self-inflicted mistakes lead to you not ultimately getting a touchdown. And with that Houston offense, you get up 7-0 right out of the gate on them, and they're playing catch-up the whole time. Absolutely. It becomes so much harder for that team because they just don't have much of a passing attack. And so very frustrating. And, you mentioned Dylan Edwards' usage, Curry, and it did feel like it was more of a point to get him the ball more, especially early on in the game. However, I went back and somebody had reminded me of this. The very first play of the second half, K-State had Dylan Edwards ran for 13 yards. Very first play of the second half. He never touched the ball again.
Yeah.
35 plays and 7 drives, and they never got him the ball again. Like, do you think they're struggling to figure out how to use him? Like,
it seems like it, right? It seems like it. And I think Saturday, I mean, I guess you did see a concerted effort in the first half to get him involved, and there were some things that worked and some things that didn't. And to me, sometimes I think if the swing passes or the jet sweeps or some of the other ways that they try to use him outside of inside zone, if it doesn't work, then they scrap it altogether. And so, I mean, I think we've seen that, we saw that in the KU game where he's making impact plays every time he touches the ball. And then all of a sudden late down the stretch, they just almost forget that he's on the team. And so I think, we're struggling to use it. We're struggling to find ways to use him. We're struggling to use him consistently. We're struggling to find ways to use he and DJ together consistently. And I think, again, we talked about how the QB run can help DJ. I think using Dylan Edwards can help DJ. I mean, you saw it some on Saturday, and I think even with that 13-yard run that you just mentioned, his ability to hit the hole and to hit the hole fast makes a difference. And sometimes there's plays that Dylan can make DJ can't, which I think can ultimately help DJ. So I think there's got to be a more concerted effort to make him a focal point of the game plan, and that's just not something that we seem to do for 4 quarters so far this season.
Well, and I would like to see him. It feels like so many of the passes they throw to him, Curry, are right on the boundary, like on the sideline, which gives the opponent an extra defender. Like, I would like to just see him on a simple drag route or something 100%. Where he has more space to use the field.
100%. I mean, we used to see, I think something that Deuce Vaughn did in his career, time to time. I remember a specific play at Oklahoma is moving him out into the slot in a situation where you're confident you're going to get man coverage, single high coverage, and having him just run an inside slant route. That's an easy throw for the quarterback, and obviously if you get him the ball in space over the middle of the football field with a single high safety, that's a touchdown. And that's something I expected to see with Dylan, and we just really haven't seen it. I know we've seen him line up in different receiver positions. We've seen him run bubble routes. We've seen him run stop routes, little hitch routes on the outside. But there's not been a lot of versatility to his, to Dylan Edwards' route tree, which is unfortunate because, again, as we talked about last week, he's one of our best offensive weapons. And just because he happens to be number 2 on the running back depth chart doesn't mean that we need to throw him on the bench for large chunks of a football game.
Well, hopefully over the bye week here, they get some things figured out between the running game and some creativity when it comes to that. All right, let's roll to the second play. This is actually that same drive, Curry, where 3rd and goal here at the 5-yard line. Avery targets Jace Brown, but Jace is running along the boundary. He's out of bounds when he gets the ball, hits him here in his hands. I mean, the throw is fine. Avery probably can't tell that Jace is running out of bounds from his vantage point when he makes the throw. The only other play that I can really see here, this going to Curry, is Will Swanson maybe curling up in the front end of the end zone here. Now there's a linebacker that could maybe get in there, undercut it. That's shallow around the 3-yard line. But I mean, how do you dissect this play? Should the throw have gone to Swanson when you look at it again?
Yeah, so you've got 12 personnel, and as we've talked about all season, use in the red zone, goal-to-go situation, use motion to ID the defense. Nobody runs with Keegan Johnson, so that this is a zone look, and that's pretty obvious from other factors as well. And this is a simple, this is a common zone or red zone scheme. It's just basically a mesh, it's just a mesh combination, mesh scheme all over the board. And you've got Keegan running in motion, running a little zip route to the flat. You've got DJ running a flat route on the backside, and then you've got tight ends running different levels of crossing routes, and then Jace Brown running a deeper crossing route from the boundary. This is probably a play that is better suited against man coverage. I think it's fine here, but probably could have helped ourselves by getting out of this call against this coverage in the short yardage situation. Obviously against zone and a goal to go situation, you just don't have a lot of room to work with. But even then, there's still opportunities here. You're right. Will Swanson, running a little hook route over the football is probably open. There is a linebacker number 4 or 6 underneath the football there who could have made a play on a throw to Will that I think may have deterred Avery from looking at him. And then ultimately, Jace Brown is open. I think Jace has to have better awareness. He was, I thought initially when I saw him running out of bounds, I thought, he must have been shoved out of bounds. It's the only explanation. But in all reality, he just runs out of bounds. And kind of, I joked with the guys I was watching the game with, kind of a little Dan Orlovsky-esque. I think lack of recognition as to where he is on the football field. And I think that probably costs us a touchdown here, because if he's 8 inches inside, if he's 8 inches to his left running along that boundary, this is a touchdown. So disappointing there. And I think, live I know we talk about there's 2 options here. It's Jace, it's Will, and both of them I think are okay options. But to me, the best option here is Avery Johnson, fleeing the pocket. If you look, when he gets to the top of his drop, O-line does a great job here. You see Easton Kilty shove his guy way upfield. Hadley Panzer helping him. Sam Heck's got his guy locked down inside. There's a ton of running room. There's a big running lane out to the field for Avery. And I think, we've seen Avery's ability to throw on the run. We know he's got the capability to run the football. And so I think getting out of the pocket and extending the play is something I'd like to see more from him, and something I would have liked to have seen here, because I think it would have expanded our options and maybe resulted in a touchdown.
Absolutely. I mean, as you were talking, Curry almost jumped in, because I'm like, Avery just leaks out to his left after his drop back. I mean, there is so much running room. He either could potentially run that in, or a defender is going to have to come up.
Yeah, I mean, Keegan Johnson's defender probably has to choose. Do I peel off and go after the quarterback, or do I stay on my guy? And I think then otherwise it's a foot race between Avery and the linebacker to the end zone. Exactly. I think we take our chances there.
Exactly. I mean, I just watched it on Monday Night Football. Patrick Mahomes leaking out to a pocket. Defender had to make a decision. Comes up. Mahomes just flips it to Samaje Perine in the end zone for a touchdown. I mean, you make him make a tough decision. Either stay back or you run it in. And if they come up, you throw it. You got a guy open. So, yeah, he should have probably leaked out there, and probably can run in or throw it. So, yep. All right. Well, K-State settles for a field goal there. That was disappointing. Now, this is a positive play. I like this play, Curry, a lot. And I thought live when they were getting ready to run it, I thought the ball might be designed to go out to Keegan, where they were just trying to get single man over on Keegan Johnson, got 4 guys over on the right side of the field, leaked out. They run Dylan Edwards in motion right before the snap, have him coming over the middle of the field. But to me, this was just isolate Keegan Johnson, put the throw there, let him make a play. Great adjustment by Keegan and good ball placement by Avery.
Yeah, excellent execution here. I mean, other than maybe a Jake Waters, Tyler Lockett combination, I can't remember the last time that we've successfully completed a back shoulder throw like this. And I like the creativity here. I mean, how many times do you see us run a quad set to the field? And so you see that obviously this is cover 0. It's straight man to man. There's no safety help. That means they're bringing some pressure, which they do. I like, the using Dylan in motion to try to create some leverage there. Houston does a really nice job of passing that off and taking that option away. At which point this becomes, and I think it was probably that way all along, but this just becomes an easy read for Avery. You're thinking, okay, we're out leveraged to the field, and so this is just I'm going to trust my best pure receiver to go make a play, and it's an excellent route by Keegan. He does a great job attacking the leverage of that DB, and I love the patience that he uses, that he employs here. He works up, pretty slowly, almost giving a little bit of a hey, I'm run blocking here, but does a nice job of attacking the leverage. Great release at the top of the route to fake inside and get outside leverage on that DB, and then it's just a great throw by Avery under a little bit of pressure and a great adjustment catch by Keegan Johnson. This is excellent execution by those 2 guys.
Yeah, 0 coverage. You got Houston bringing 6 guys, K-State with 5 guys split out, and great adjustment by Keegan and a really nice ball by Avery to deliver it on the money. Put K-State up 16-10, and you started to feel like they might be taking control at that point, and really they had. But things certainly changed in the fourth quarter. All right, ready to go with play number 4. All right, so this is a 3rd and 1 on a drive where first drive of the second half, Curry, K-State is going down the field, and you're thinking here, okay, I get up 23-10 potentially, or at worst 19-10. Instead, they lose 6 yards. They're at the 36-yard line, and then they miss the 53-yard field goal that they aren't able to get off the ground due to a snapping issue. Lost points, lost opportunity there. I think I texted you, DY, and John earlier today about this one. As I watched this live, my initial reaction was just hand it off to DJ Giddens. He gets the first down, and or worst case, you're probably in a 4.5 yard again, and you can do it over again and have another play. This one obviously results in a loss to where you don't go for it as a result. But when I keep watching this, Curry, like I don't know what Easton Kilty's doing. His guy beats him, and maybe this is by design, but looks like a read play, and Kilty just kind of looks like he's passing the D end off, who gets inside, and I could see why Avery would pull the ball as a result, because that D end beats him to the inside and is right there for DJ. Like, what do you make of this play?
Yeah,
I'm trying to figure out what's going on here.
I'm confused as well. I mean, it's obviously a zone read, but I can't tell is the read guy is the key. Is he the flat defender, number 15 McLaurin, or is he the defensive lineman that Easton Kilty passes off? I think it's the flat defender, just based on the way that Avery reads it, but I also don't know. So I this could be a play where maybe Easton is supposed to let that guy go. I don't know. I do think at the end of the day, Avery probably made the right technical read, but in this case, 3rd and 1 on the 30-yard line, you've got to hand the ball to your running back going downhill, because I do think even though that guy gets past Easton, I don't think he's athletic enough to come down on DJ and make that play. And even if he does, DJ probably still falls forward for a first down. And so appreciate what Avery's doing here, understand what he's doing here, but I do think the simple play, the obvious play is to just hand it off to DJ running downhill and extend the drive. And if not, put yourself in a convertible 4th down situation.
Right. And I mean, if Kilty's guy misses that tackle, I mean, it's blocked well for potentially quite a bit. Which is well done, because they had 7 guys in the box to 5 guys for K-State blocking there, and Kilty looked like he was passing it off. I couldn't figure out necessarily what the read was there, because they still had the outside backer to the edge, and was a little confused. But yeah, probably the right decision. You just got to hand it off. Worst case, you got to trust DJ to pick up that yard. And worst case, you're in a 4th and half yard, and you can figure it out on the next play. But getting into 4th and 6 in those conditions was not ideal. Okay. All right. This is the game-changing play where the interception occurs to K-State's up 19-10, about 12 minutes and 30 seconds left in the game at this point. K-State clearly, to me, it looks like an RPO. I mean, Curry, K-State's got offensive linemen 5 yards downfield when the ball is released. Like Sam Heck, you can see there, he's at the 17-yard line. The ball was snapped at the 12 while the ball is in the air. Hadley Panzer, I want to say, is at the 15 or 16-yard line. So I assume this is an RPO type read. Avery pulls the ball out, throws to Keegan, who does appear to be open, but again, the conditions, I don't know. Like, I don't like throwing the ball over the middle in this situation. Too much traffic, the weather conditions, everything, we already talked about and discussed. But what's Avery looking at here? Did he make the right read? Like, considering the RPO action and the way that Houston's defending it, is it the right read to pull the ball there, all things aside?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think you could argue it either way. I mean, I think if it is a true RPO, which I think you're right, it is, then it appears that there was a running lane there for DJ, and so probably again the best play is probably to just give DJ the rock. But I do think throwing the circumstances aside, seeing that you've got single high coverage. You've got man-to-man on the outside with a single high safety, and you've got, again, your best pure receiver, in my view, out to the boundary, locked up in man coverage. This is probably the right read. Again, under the circumstances, you probably just hand it to DJ if it's a true RPO, but throwing these circumstances aside, this is the right read. Now, the route itself, I'm not exactly sure. There may be some miscommunication here. If this is a slant route, I'm not sure why Keegan's breaking it flat down the line. And otherwise, if it's not a slant route, then I'm not sure why Avery's throwing it like it is. So it appears that there may have been some miscommunication between Keegan and Avery on this play, which ultimately led to the interception. But I think at the end of the day, this is a fine read. You've got great, you've got a great matchup outside. This ball has to come out quicker. You've got single high safety help. You've got a linebacker who's lurking over the line of scrimmage, and so you can't wait to throw this football for as long as we do right here. This ball has got to come out quicker, and part of that may be on Keegan getting it, breaking out of his route quicker. But this ball has to come out quicker, and if it does, it's either an incomplete pass or a completion to Keegan Johnson. So I think the read is fine under the circumstances. I probably like to see him give that ball to DJ, but the read is fine. And there, obviously if there's miscommunication, that has to be cleaned up. And at the end of the day, that ball has to come out quicker under that situation and that against that coverage.
You're right. The ball comes out quicker. If by holding it a little bit longer, that linebacker recovers. I don't know if it was a linebacker. There's a defender that had sucked up on the RPO action, but he had time to recover and backpedal where he kind of gets in the throwing lane, to impact and undercut.
And I think he did.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah, so if the ball comes out quicker, he's still up at the line of scrimmage, doesn't have the time to impact the throwing lane as well. Okay, next one's going to be the second interception. K-State at this point is down 24-19 with about 2.5 minutes left in the game. Curry, and this is a ball he targets Keegan Johnson over the middle of the field. Ball is picked off. There's a lot of traffic there. As I watch this, to me, K-State might have, you let me know if I'm wrong, but if you look far side, Garrett Oakley, I want to say it's Garrett Oakley going down the sideline. Like, K-State might have a touchdown here with the way Houston's defender plays this. Garrett Oakley has his guy beat deep, and then Jace Brown is single man on the outside. And we know how good Jace has been on deep balls this season as well, where you've got one-on-one going deep there. Like, did Avery make a mistake here with where he goes with the ball? Should it have gone to one of the boundary receivers running down the sideline? What do you make of it?
Yeah, absolutely. This is just the wrong read. You're getting some sort of cover 3 type of look. Diagnosis not completely clear. It could be some sort of man, but I think it's more likely a cover 3 look based on just the way the linebackers and some of the nickel corners are playing this. Though the boundary corners do pass off the switch route. This is basically some iteration of a 4 verticals type switch, with the outside guys, switching with the inside guys, and the outside guys ultimately breaking off, dig routes to the middle. Seeing those two linebackers drop the way that they're dropping, he has to come off Keegan. If Keegan's a read pre-snap, he has to come off of when he sees those linebackers dropping. And the same can be said for, I believe that's Ty Bowman to the top. And so, yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, just based on what you're seeing here with the single high safety, you've got to let it rip to either Jace Brown or to Garrett Oakley. I think obviously Garrett appears to be open here. This could have been an easy touchdown. But at the end of the day, you see Jace Brown, your fastest receiver out there in a single coverage in that high safety sitting on those crossing routes. You've probably just got to let that ball rip. And so I think this is just the wrong read here. Obviously tough situation down late in the game, not ideal weather conditions, but gotta come off that read when you see those two linebackers dropping deep into that zone and fire it to one of those guys who's out on the edge getting single coverage.
Yeah, agreed. Nothing for me to add there. Unfortunate they were in that situation though in the first place, so had plenty of opportunities to avoid that and have the game iced away. All right, I think we got one more. This is actually it's another positive play. I was really impressed with this throw by Avery Johnson Curry. This is a 61-yard pass to Jace Brown that K-State ultimately ends up kicking a 47-yard field goal to go up 19-10. There's pressure coming from Avery's backside. He's kind of hit right as he releases the ball, and he delivers an absolute strike in bad weather for a 61-yard play here. Just a straight go by Jace. I don't know if there's a lot, from a schematic standpoint to add here other than just a heck of a ball by Avery and a nice job by Jace.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you see Carver get beat to the top side of the screen. And I think I fully expected that play to end up in, maybe a strip sack just based on that defender coming, somewhat blind to Avery. And Avery does a nice job of just ever so slightly sliding up in his pocket and to the left to avoid that pressure and then getting that ball off. And this is, I love this play call. And that's in that instance, I can recall, saying, hey, we need a big play here. We're struggling to move the football. We need a big play, because really after going up 16-10, we hadn't had, there hadn't been a ton of success moving the football. And so was obviously very much in favor of seeing the deep shot here. Houston given another man-to-man look as they've done, throughout most of the football game. And this is just Avery trusting his guy to go get the football. And excellent route by Jace pressing the leverage of that DB and just running past him. I think that DB fully expected him to break that route off somewhere. And just excellent throw, excellent catch. Obviously would have liked this, would have liked to have seen this go into the end zone, but this is a big time play and a big moment right here. And I fully expected this play to flip the game on its head for good.
Yeah. Me as well. I mean, it feels like they're hitting on a lot of these vertical routes when they actually do go deep in the last few weeks, Curry. I mean, should they be taking more shot plays downfield at this point?
I think absolutely. You've seen, we've had high success rate when we do it, but it just seems like sometimes we're pretty afraid to push the football down the field. I mean, for the first 2.5 quarters of that Houston game, I don't think we really threw the ball beyond 10 yards down the line of scrimmage, and we've had success running intermediate level routes, and we've had success running, completing balls on deep passes. And so obviously, we're talking a lot about how our running game is not performing the way that it was a few weeks ago at the start of the season. And we've talked about ways that you can help that. Another way you can help that is push the football down the field. Don't let these defenses line up and man coverage with a single high safety and load the box. Make them fear your ability to throw the football down the field. And we've shown that that's something that we're pretty good at. Avery and Jace have a good connection there. We've seen Jaden and Keegan have success in making plays down the football field. And so I think we just have to be more willing to be more aggressive. And that may be our biggest issue at this point is our unwillingness to be aggressive and sometimes our lack of creativity. And so I want to see us be more aggressive pushing the football down the field because that's going to help everybody. That's going to unlock a lot of opportunities for the rest of this offense.
It just feels like since maybe the Oklahoma State game, they're hitting on a very high clip when they do go deep. And Jace Brown, I think, has been the guy for almost all of those. Jaden Jackson had the one against West Virginia. K-State is tied for 9th in the country. I just folded up with 5 completions of 50 yards or more. And they're tied for 14th in the country with 9 completions of 40 yards or more. Curry, they've become far more explosive in the passing game. When they do it, and go deep. It's been working at a very high clip. So to your point, I feel like they need to be taking 3 to 4 shot plays a game to make the defense respect that and soften up the run defense that the opponents are doing, and make the safeties think about coming up to try and defend the run and stop the run. And hopefully that will help alleviate some of the
and it's going to, taking those deep shots is also going to help open up the intermediate passing game. All of a sudden those corners are going to be fearful of getting beat deep. And so, we just have to, and we've got good speed guys on the outside with Avery, with Jason Keegan. And so we've got to be more willing to use that, and use that as a way to open up other opportunities for the rest of this offensive group.
Well, let's end on this. John asked me on the post-game show that we did Saturday after the game, what should K-State do with this bye week, and what do they need to do over these next couple of weeks before Arizona State in this final stretch of 3 games to close out the season? Where do they need to work at? What do they need to get better at? Like, where should be the area of focus, or like what is your position on this to get better? What should they be focusing on over the next 10, 12 days from when we record this to try and hopefully get back in the Big 12 championship race and get to Arlington?
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think just a reset is really all that's needed. I think sometimes it's underestimated just how significant bye weeks are for a football team. We talked a lot last week, and we've talked a lot about the last couple of weeks, just the brutal middle part of our schedule and the travel and late game at Colorado, followed by late game at West Virginia, followed by night game at home against your rival with a 15-game winning streak on the line, followed by a road trip to rainy Houston, a scrappy Houston football team. And that's a rough stretch of travel, and it ultimately caught up with us. I mean, you saw after that West Virginia game, in a lot of ways, we just seemed to be out of gas. Even against our rival, we seemed to be flat, and that continued over into Saturday. And so I think a reset is really what this football team needs. We've been beat up. We know Avery's been dealing with some stuff. Keegan Johnson has suffered some obvious, has left some games with some injuries here and there. We know some of our tight ends, Kieran Oakley, Braden Lofton, have been beat up. We know Hadley Panzer and Carver Willis have been beat up. We're bruised and tattered at the linebacker position. Cody Stufflebean has some sort of contraption on his arm. I mean, this is a football team like any football team at this point in the season that's got a lot of injuries. It's a football team that's beat up, and I think beat up physically, beat up mentally, as a season tends to do to you. And so I think a reset is what these guys need. They need some time off to give their bodies a break, and they need some time off to reset their minds. And I think that ultimately is going to be the biggest thing for us as we go down the home stretch of this football season. I fully expect to see the reset help us. And unlike our last reset, where we reset and then went on a brutal 2-game road stretch, we're going to reset and come home to 2 home football games, which is going to be an entirely different story. And so I think you're going to see a rejuvenated football team next Saturday when we play Arizona State. And I think that'll carry over into the Cincy game. And then if you take care of business in those 2 games, then you've got a big one of Ames on November 30th. And so I think a reset is important. Reset also allows you to dig back into the fundamentals, some fundamentals that are obviously lacking right now. Allows you to get more film review in. And so I think just this reset in general is going to be vital for this football team as we go down the final stretch of this football season.
Yeah, basically don't have to leave Manhattan for the month of November until the very last day in November when you go to Ames, obviously. So opportunity to stay home and just focus on getting better and have the home crowd at your side with an opportunity still to get to 9-2 before heading to Ames. And assuming Colorado could lose one more game, you've got everything to play for still right there on the table. If hopefully Texas Tech or KU or somebody can get it done against the Buffs and hand them that second loss, so K-State will have the tiebreaker and hopefully get to Arlington still.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's you can only, and I know Coach will be preaching this, but you can only control what you can control. And I know that's easy for me to say, but in reality, we should, this football team shouldn't be focusing on, who we need to lose. What things do we need to happen a certain way for us to continue our season into the, in the Big 12 championship game. I think at the end of the day, their focus needs to just be on improving and getting wins where they can and hoping that everything else takes care of itself, but not focusing on that. I do think too often, you're looking around and seeing what's happening and think, oh man, Iowa State's going to go down at Texas Tech and here comes our opportunity. if we just win and take care of business, there's going to be opportunities there for us. And so our football team just needs to focus on going 3-0 to finish this season.
Well, that 2022 season, K-State went to Baylor, and they needed Texas to lose a game to get the tiebreaker over them still. Texas controlled its own destiny. K-State had a very business-like performance, playing at the same exact time as Texas against TCU, and Texas was at home. They were favored by 6 or 7 in that game, and K-State went down to Baylor and just whooped them 31-3 and did not worry about what was going on in Austin, and Texas lost the game. K-State took care of business the rest of the way, and so as fans, we'll monitor it, obviously. I think we'll all be actively cheering for Texas Tech this weekend against Colorado and hoping things are back in control. That would feel better from a fan's perspective, but these guys just need to focus on getting better, absolutely, and get ready to play these final 3 games, take care of business, win the final 3 at 10-2 season. That is a success, and I don't think anyone would complain about that necessarily. So hopefully that comes to fruition. Hopefully the bye week goes well, and appreciate you, Curry, as always, for jumping on. Go support catsnil.com, go support Wildcat NIL at catsnil.com. Sign up for the membership program over there. Tons of different options suit your needs as you support K-State student athletes. Also, go support Holiday Distillery. Get some Ben Holiday bottled and bond bourbon. Go to homefieldapparel.com, 3 24 for 15% off. And as always, go to alencohome.com, ALENCO home.com for all your home improvement needs. Company owned and operated by terrific K-Staters. For Curry Sexton and Nick Springer behind the scenes producing the show, I'm Cole Manbeck. Thank you for listening to another episode of 3 Mall.